start the show.
For Thursday, March 23rd, 2017. Welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com.
Right. Look at that fucking squirrel on my bird feeder.
And then suddenly, the Enterprise D's bridge.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of This Is Only a Test. We're back in the office this week. We're back from France. Back from France. How's everyone doing here? That dubstep intro means it's Will Smith's third guest appearance in 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
You guys are scraping
desperate.
the bottom of the barrel over
yeah,
there.
they're
It's
like
I
old
don't know what's
times.
You can't get rid of me. I'm like fungus.
Will's here. Jeremy's back as well. Jeremy, off past 2 weeks. You didn't travel with us.
I didn't leave the country.
To fancy.
What were you doing, Jeremy?
Fernie Voltaire.
2 weeks ago, I had jury duty.
Whoa.
For the first time. I was actually selected
Ever?
in the jury box.
Wow.
I mean, I've been called in before, but they always dismiss me. But I got in.
What? Why did they like you for this one? Why did they want to bring you in?
Yeah, who can say?
You went. Wait.
They didn't ask
Jeremy,
me a whole lot of questions.
You went to the. You got to set it up right. You were called to the Hall of Justice.
I was.
The
I was.
Hall of Justice.
I was looking around for Superman. Didn't see anybody, and it was so all that is criminal stuff.
Okay.
So it was the DA was charging somebody with something, and we were gonna be the ones to decide whether or not he hit the slammer.
Oh, it's criminal.
Yeah,
court
that's
even.
what he said.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
All of Hall
do
of
you
Justice.
know what this was?
What?
Murder case. Say murder case.
I mean,
Gangland crimes.
I couldn't joke about that.
Rico.
A homeless guy stole a motorcycle, potentially,
allegedly.
Yes, that's probably the better word. And you know what?
Yeah.
There was no evidence.
Did anybody do like a big long speech, either in the intro or the outro, about how justice needed to be served?
Yeah, I mean, it was.
Was there a compelling opening argument about making a stand against the homeless scourge in San Francisco?
There was a little bit of that. The public defender was actually much more impassioned.
Of course.
The DA was just kind of like, she's waiting to get to the next case.
Wait. Let's get back to the specifics. Well, first of all, it's okay legally to talk about this case.
Yeah. No, absolutely. You just can't pay me money for the story.
What, really?
Yeah. And
how did all those people make
it's
money
okay.
off OJ?
Thankfully, you don't pay me to be on the podcast.
Exactly. That's lunch.
So we're all good. No. So it's just a stupid case. The guy lost his motorcycle. It was stolen, and then he called the cops, and then it was spotted 10 hours later, and somebody called it in, and they identified the bike. The bike was fine. Homeless guy was on it, and
what about the credence?
what are you talking about? What are you doing?
What?
Let Jeremy tell his story, Will.
Sorry.
And the fact was, like, there was just no evidence that the homeless guy took it or that he even knew it was stolen because he said nothing.
You think he was just using it as a bathroom or something?
Nobody asked him anything.
You can't do a soup kitchen on a motorcycle.
Nobody asked.
Only
Nobody
Priuses.
asked this guy a single question. The cops didn't. They just got the bike back. They called the owner. The bike was fine. They let the homeless guy go.
And then who pressed charges?
The district attorney.
What?
Yeah. And who even knows that this guy stole it? The guy doesn't know like how his keys got taken.
Wait.
That guy could have gotten hopped up on goofballs and just driven his bike and parked it someplace weird.
I'm fascinated by this. So this is because this is taxpayer money. San Francisco
So I'm telling
taxpayer
you.
money.
You're a taxpayer.
Exactly. And your time, it's your civic duty. So the DA pressed charges against a homeless guy
With no evidence.
because the bike was found, no problem. The owner of the bike did not press charges.
He got his bike back in perfect condition.
Was the owner of the bike there?
Yes,
What
he
was his
testified.
what was his disposition?
He was basically defensive because he didn't know how he lost his keys to the
It was
bike.
defensive about like, I'm a sucker. I lost my keys.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like a wired. It was just actual keys.
He didn't care.
Is there a conspiracy afoot?
I don't know, dude.
He probably got hopped up on goofballs.
Well,
left the keys in the bike when he got home, and then somebody went for a ride.
He said he had a couple beers.
And rode a motorcycle?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's especially. It gets bad enough to have a couple beers and get behind the wheel of a car.
they didn't want to cut a deal.
It was really disappointing. I was actually excited to do my jury duty service and go in there and learn something about the legal system.
Process.
And I swear to you, I came out feeling worse about the legal system than when I went.
Oh,
in.
We need to make
no.
the legal system great again.
So what kind of hobo?
Homeless
he didn't
person,
come in.
Norm.
Singing, stabbing.
He didn't come in.
Oh, they didn't.
Never
what?
even
He
saw him.
defended.
No, he can be represented by his attorney. I don't think his attorney wanted him to come in, but I don't think he ever did.
What if
The dude only has a mailing address of the post office.
Right.
He doesn't have a phone number. I don't even know what they were going to do if they prosecuted the guy.
How does he know like what to be angry about if
Wait,
he
wait.
doesn't have a phone?
So was the defendant detained?
No, I don't think so, because he had the choice whether or not to come in.
So this was just
So what would have
homeless
happened-
person in San Francisco? Like,
Yes.
Wow.
Wait, if the defendant was convicted, if you and your
Yeah.
what
The
would
peers.
have happened?
Yeah. I don't know, dude. I don't know how they would have sent a letter to him at the post office and hope he got it.
And find him. I mean, it's a criminal case.
I know.
he could have ended up in the big house.
Honestly,
the slammer.
they didn't tell us if he was in jail or not. I just assumed that he wasn't. And
But it was multiple days of deliberations or multiple days.
no, it was only a couple hours of deliberation. It was only 2 days of actual court case.
2 days of presentation.
Yeah.
There was opening. There was
Opening
evidence.
arguments.
Was there Exhibit A? Was there
Yeah,
Exhibit
yeah.
X?
There was
Did
only-
anybody yell objection?
Yes, there was lots of that.
Really?
Yeah. No, that was
Oh.
the good part, is watching the chemistry between the two attorneys.
Yeah. Did
Do
you
they
feel like
have a
they were going to go
history?
make out afterwards or not so much?
Not so much.
Okay.
No history.
What are you talking
They,
about?
they were using this case as a way for some type of legal feud.
No, and I could tell the judge just wanted to get this over with.
You could have been in the middle of like an anthology series where like, you know, I've watched everything I know about attorneys I learned from watching Ally McBeal.
Or the practice.
Never watched The Practice.
I got to tell you that there were 12 jurors, and we were all kind of like, where's the evidence in this case? We kind of feel like he may have known it was stolen, but there's not a single shred of evidence to suggest that he actually knew it was stolen.
Or that was the one who stole it.
Or that, well, he didn't have to be, because there were two charges: one, that he received a stolen motorcycle, and two, that he was riding one. And so we had no evidence that he actually received it
Or that he wrote it,
from
right?
anybody.
Sounds like.
But he was riding it. But the weird thing was, he stopped at this corner and offered the bike to someone else. Like, he actually offered to give them a ride.
So it's like a community bike. Maybe he thought it was part of that bike share.
So that's
thing
what I'm thinking.
in
Like,
San Francisco.
Dude's just on his little trip, and he figured like this is like some bike he got
This
the same
is a
way.
motorcycle, though. This
In
could have
any
been
case,
the Ghost Rider.
There was one juror who felt very strongly that he should be convicted. Only one of the 12 of us.
Wow.
And so it was just one of them was a mistrial. So one charge we said not guilty, the other was a mistrial, which means potentially they could waste more taxpayer dollars on this stupid charge.
Because if the DA wanted to go through the process again,
Yeah, exactly.
Have you ever had jury duty, Norm?
I've never been to that point. I've gotten to the point where I've sat in the room, and right before they're going to deliberate, the judge said, congratulations, or thank you for your service. The two parties have worked it out.
So I was in the box. Like I was juror number 13 in the box one time and got to the final round of cuts before the civil case, and it was a old guy ran a stop sign and hit somebody on a bicycle. Old guy hit somebody on a bicycle who ran a stop sign. So the bicycle rider ran the stop sign. I think it was that one at the bottom of DeViz and Haight. Like you had that steep long hill, and the bicyclist was coming down the hill at like 40 miles an hour and ran out and hit the car, and then was suing the guy who was driving the car, who was an elderly guy, for damages.
If they ran a stop sign, that's on them.
So when they were asking questions and we had to fill out a little questionnaire, like, how do you feel about bicycles not following the rules of the road? And I was like, I think it's bullshit, because I lived on one of those intersections where you have to constantly be worried about hitting a bicyclist who runs the stop sign.
Or being hit by a bicyclist.
And they excused me on the last round of cuts.
You know, Joey was caught.
He didn't put his foot down, right?
I forget what it was, but it was one
It
of
was
those.
an expensive ticket.
It was caught on like local news.
Oh, right. He was interviewed.
Yeah, they did one of those like bicyclists are terrorizing the neighborhood because they're running stop signs, and they caught a group of people. Like
Yeah.
it was rush hour, so but it was like a swarm.
It was
of
on the Wiggle, right?
It was in the Wiggle, and then I think and then people were like, "You can't film me," and some guy was very antagonistic, and Joey's like, "Let's get me out of here."
Yeah.
Wow. Before tested?
No, during time. It was when
Wow.
we were in the old office.
Wow.
Probably, yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So
San Francisco law, not just, it seems. I mean, it seems like the law is just,
Right.
but the
Wasted
but the-
tax dollars.
Yeah.
the Hall of Justice.
But I brought my Nintendo Switch for the downtime.
I was gonna ask,
Did you play 1-2 switch with the other jurors?
did you Zelda throughout the trial?
I wish I could have, because that was in the midst of my full-fledged addiction, and so no, I actually brought it for the lunch hour, but I that was it.
How was the food?
Food. I went to the Mars bar, man.
Oh, you took care of yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
you went to by our old office, had a good burger,
Wow.
played some Zelda, and went back and did your civic duty.
That's right.
All right, Fair enough. How you guys doing with Zelda?
The game's really good.
It's really good.
I'm at 65 shrines, I think.
What?
Two monsters, two
my
bosses.
Wait. Hold on.
Yeah.
We're not going to go into full Zelda spoiler territory. I know a lot of people out there have yet to play it.
There's
or
a
maybe
lot of
still
game.
willing to play. There's
Yeah.
a big game.
Big game.
We're not going to spoil like the discovery moments, but just to establish how obsessed the people in this room are. Will, you've put in.
Hold on, I can
It
probably
tells
see.
you you're in 70 hours. I think because we're friends. I saw you. Were
Oh,
at
you
least-
saw? Oh, great.
as of last weekend.
This
you're
is
70
information I
hours in.
didn't want.
Yeah.
I
You can't
too.
actually check yourself.
That's split between my time and my
Hey, Tom.
daughter's time, though, because we share. I play her, like, we co-pilot. I don't her save. Her save only has 4 hearts.
I think your daughter's time has to be bundled in your time,
boy.
Will. Jeremy, you are
Also around 75 hours.
75 hours, but you've beat the game.
Yeah.
And
I mean, but now to qualify that statement, I have beaten Ganon, and I have unlocked the 4 divine beasts.
Okay.
But I have not gone to every shrine. I haven't found every what are those little nuts? What are those little cuckoo nuts?
Karak.
Yeah.
There's 900 of those.
Yeah. So that's not going to
What?
happen.
Yeah, you're not going to get all of those.
Oh my goodness.
But
Unless
there's
you're-
so much I haven't seen in this game still. It's just like it is the scale of an MMO in
Yeah.
a single player experience.
Yeah.
And I'm about 25 hours in.
How many shrines do you have, Norm?
Like 15.
Okay.
Ooh, there's
probably
some
me.
crazy static going on.
Little Bluetooth.
So it's without spoiling. Spoiling. It's a type of game. It's open world. You can climb everything. Even though there's a main quest structure that you have these mini bosses and then the big Ganon boss. You could, like Will, you're technically halfway through the main quest.
We think. I don't know.
We
There
think?
could be something else after the divine beast.
Sure, but you're just taking your time.
So yeah, I mean the difference is if you look at Zelda narrative structure and how they've organized these games over the years, the very first one was a completely open world and you were gated. Like access to certain areas was gated by the tools that you had. You had to have the candle to get to a certain dungeon. You had to have the raft to get to another dungeon, stuff like that.
Right.
Later, as those games progressed, they really locked into that structure and made it more codified so that even if you got into a dungeon, if you didn't have the right tool, you wouldn't be able to progress past the opening room, basically. And they kind of messed with that with the 3DS version, the 3DS Zelda game that came out 2 years ago now, I guess, Link Between Worlds. Link to the Past, Link Between Worlds. Yeah. And they changed they made the tools more accessible with that. So you could jump around and you could rent like a hook shot to go into the 5th dungeon and get access to that hook shot without having to do dungeons 1 through 3, which kind of is like one of the big problems with Ocarina of Time and all the Zeldas that came past that is if you got to a dungeon that was in the progression and you got stuck on a puzzle or something,
That's it.
then you were stalled.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to get to the next. You wouldn't be able to get into the next dungeon. And what they did here was they took a lot of that puzzle structure that came in those dungeons and that was sequential in those dungeons, and they put each individual puzzle or each individual sequence of puzzles in a shrine so that they're optional. And when you finish one of those shrines, you get essentially a quarter of a heart or a
Stamina.
fifth of a 20th of a stamina wheel.
Yeah.
And so and then there's still progression inside the actual boss dungeons, but it's not those boss dungeons are a little bit easier, I think, than the traditional Zelda dungeons, and they're much less likely to block you. And even if you do get blocked, you don't have to do those in a prescribed order, so you can always go do the other 3 and then come back to that 4th one last when you're stronger.
The thing that I've loved so much is I mean, I love the open world aspect of it, and like you can spend hours wandering, discovering new lands, fulfilling the hundreds of side quests, but the way it introduces mechanics to you, so that as you better understand the rules of the world, and a lot of those are very logical things, such as, well, balloons float.
They're too logical
And-
for video games in a lot of
Exactly,
cases.
and that's you have to understand. Wow, this actually works.
Yeah.
This actually works. Part of discovery helps you later on. So like if you break the rules, if you cheat and read a guide and do the Mega Man, you got to do this boss first and use this weapon here. That's not fun. The fun here is realizing, okay, ice arrows work against this type of monster because logically they work against hot things, and that helps you beat the mini bosses.
Or even like you can. There was a dungeon that I had to do last night that had some really specific requirements about light, and in order to get you play and play and play, and I'm like lighting all the grass on fire so I can see what's going on around me.
Yeah.
And then eventually I realized, oh, right, there's a much easier way to do this. We talked about a thing yesterday, Jeremy, when we were playing badminton, where like there was a puzzle where you had to get a ball onto a thing that was in deep water. And you and I both took completely different approaches to that puzzle.
Yeah.
And I think that there's probably another half dozen ways to approach that because, wood burns and ice floats, and you can make a raft float with balloons.
Exactly, right? Like the designers, they probably came up with the best. Like they designed the puzzles so that this teaches you a certain mechanic, or this shrine, which is about this type of mechanic, is going to introduce you. But because of all the rules that they've introduced into the materials and into the physics of the world, you could solve a puzzle if you have enough dexterity, or if you trick the game enough. Like there are things, the emergent behavior, I think they obviously didn't fully account for.
I feel like it's the magic of the game is that it's emergent gaming without sacrificing joy. If you rely too much on emergent systems, then it can just become dry and physicsy, or just too much unpredictability. But they just refined the world and the puzzles such that they're so much fun to play, and you get so much into it.
And the emergence doesn't come like in a game like BioShock, where emergent like combat was a big part of it. The way you could set up traps and combine things.
Yeah.
It was focused on combat. Here, there are a lot of different clever ways you can defeat the enemies as you explore the world. But the emergent stuff that's most satisfying is in the exploration.
It's in the environment. Yeah,
it's in the environment.
There's so much exploration,
and
and I feel like there's more puzzles in this game than there is combat.
This is a puzzle, an open world game. So the natural comparison is something like Skyrim, I think, or the Bethesda kind of open world games.
I love that this is not those games, because those games, when it comes to the difficulty, it scales along with you. Well, you can go anywhere at the beginning of those games that you want to, and as you progress and you become more powerful, the world becomes more powerful against you.
For the most part.
And I hate that. I feel like I went into Skyrim after playing World of Warcraft, so I wasn't ready for that. And so I don't like that style of development.
You like for the world to push back on you.
I guess that I enjoy that there's pros and cons, but the world feels so much more realistic when I can go into a bad place I shouldn't be there.
So I was going to go a different angle, different direction with that.
Yeah, sorry, I just want to throw that.
No, it's all good. The thing that I love is that it has that same kind of open worldness of Skyrim, and you have a lot of the environmental storytelling. So you'll come upon a cabin that's abandoned, and there's a kind of interesting story that if you want to go pull it out of that cabin, you can. But if you just want to just walk by the abandoned cabin, you're not going to miss a whole lot. The thing that this game does that those games aspire to is that it has these really complex systems that interact, and somehow it's still a little bit janky at times in an interesting kind of fun way, the same way the Bethesda games are. But the overall level of weird shit that happens because the game is broken seems way, way lower with this than would, say, a Fallout 4 or a Skyrim or something like that.
So I'm on the Jeremy camp where I don't like going back to like an earlier level and feeling like the enemies have leveled up with me. I like going back to an earlier level, feel like now I'm the master of this domain.
Yeah,
and I felt very weak when the world was big, or the world was small in the initial lands, and now the world feels bigger, smaller to me because I'm more powerful.
But the world is still enormous.
Yes,
and there are bad guys.
Yeah.
Having beaten the game, that I still will say, if I'm walking, if I see them, I just go around them. I say, I don't want any part of that.
But this type of game is also the kind of game where I have severe fear of missing out. Because I'm only going to probably play it once. If you're going to invest 70 hours in the game, if you're going to beat Ganon, it's going to be a long time before I come back and try to redo the whole thing. But I don't want to miss out on the side quests, the stories, because they're clever things. So
I feel it's like life, though, man. You can't play it all.
But Will's trying to play it all. He's doing 65 shrines. He's going to go for full 100 before.
Is it 100 shrines total?
I think it's 100 shrines.
Yeah, I'm going to get 100 shrines.
How do you play a game? Like, I reached the edge of a new territory, and it's not discovered on the map, and I have fear because I know that if I enter this area, I'm opening another Pandora's box of all these things that I'm probably not going to finish.
I love that. I love that experience of exploring new territory in that game, because that's part of the mechanic, is that you don't get to see a map of the area until you trudge through it without any knowledge of what's in front of you.
And it doesn't label things until you've been to them for the most part. Yeah. Like I love getting to a new area. I love finding the jungle-y area and realizing that, oh shit, all the animals are different here, right? Like there's a handful of things that are familiar, but the fruit's different. The trees are all different. The way the puzzles are constructed is a little subtly different. The other thing that is interesting to me about the game is that on a meta level, the designers were aware and took into account how people play these kinds of games. So I've hit multiple instances where I discovered something that was really cool, and I was like, okay, I'm going to save my game here, and I'm going to do something that I would normally save scum my way through.
Right.
And the game is aware of that, and I've seen at least 2 different ways that they prevent you from doing that.
Yep.
That are fair and just and make the game better.
Saves are precious because it auto saves.
Yeah.
And you have a limited number of
6.
saves. And like if I save 6 times in the span of half hour, that's
it.
it.
And I didn't know that.
And I was like, oh man, because I want the choose your own adventure. I want to thumb my finger earlier in the book and say, I'm going to go back here and try a different path.
And I played for 30, 40 hours till I realized that wasn't the case because it fades off. Like the saves after
it
the
looks
fifth,
like you have
the fifth
forever.
fade fades off into the 6th. So I figured I had a ton of them.
Yeah.
So I played and I went somewhere I shouldn't have, and I lost all my weapons because they were just being destroyed left and right.
So how do you feel about that? That's a critique there was a quote unquote controversial review of Zelda. Someone gave it a I forget the name.
You're talking about Jim Sterling?
Yeah, Jim Sterling gave it a 7 out of 10.
I thought his review was really good.
I agree, and he liked the game.
Yeah.
But the one mechanic that he didn't like, and completely valid, was the weapons deteriorating.
So at first that was frustrating to me. Yeah. When I got through the first couple of areas and I realized how many weapons there are in the world, I became less annoyed by it.
It's not Borderlands where. Like I wish they had complemented that with the Borderlands style, like the random drop of weapons. I like the fact that they're perishables. I don't like the fact that I can't repair them.
So, like the last time I played a Borderlands game, though, that frustrated me. Like the thing that having the weapons degrade and having no way to repair them means that you don't get too attached to any particular weapon,
and you have to resign yourself to that.
But it's a kind of there's a kind of Zen thing that happens when you do that, and then that also forces you to learn how to use the other weapons effectively. So I never would have gotten into using spears, except I at one point had 5 spears and no swords
Because you can't hold
a shield with the spear, and the spear is badass and has enormous range, and when you charge it up, it's a maniacal killing machine.
I mean, I don't know if the way you guys play, but I play where I get the weapon slots. You find the siege, you open the weapon slots. I always put in my weapons because I always am losing weapons. I hold 3 really powerful weapons, my 3 most powerful weapons. I hold those. I hoard those for the bosses, and I only use my 4th most powerful weapon as a regular exploring weapon.
And I also have weapons I prefer. So I love a good knight's broadsword. That's a super fun sword to use. I like the Guardian spears, and then you're right. I have a couple of weapons that I hold either for a boss fight or more likely for major test of strength shrines, stuff like that.
Right.
So on the subject of weapon durability, this is an important. A lot of people have this complaint, and why wouldn't you hate it, right? Everyone who plays this game probably hates that right away.
It's the break from old Zelda, right?
It's a break from
every
most
RPG.
games.
Every RPG.
Weapons may break after a while, but these break during one piece of combat.
Yeah.
These will disintegrate easily.
But especially,
I just want to say that given everyone's experience with that, I get it, and there's probably other things. And I think this game has so much in it, from puzzle design to platforming to exploration to crafting to cooking, that you're going to hate something in this game no matter who you are.
Oh, there's definitely the cooking stuff makes me batty.
I love the cooking.
But I think this is such a masterclass in game design that whatever it is that you hate, think about why they made that decision. Because I think there's probably a really good reason for it.
Well, it goes back to the generality of the world, right? Like the cooking thing, my frustration with it is that I can't batch cook. For me to make enough food for me to last a couple of game sessions is basically 30 minutes, right? Which sucks. But the way that they set up the cooking system so that you can take, basically any food ingredient, combine it with any other food ingredient, and it follows some really overarching rules, but there aren't Minecraft style recipes, right? It's not a situation where you have to take an apple and put it in this slot, and a piece of chicken and put it in this slot, and a mushroom and put it in this slot, and you get the same thing every time. It's that.
Well, it is.
No, because it's that you take a thing that has this
similar.
So food items have 2 basic properties. They have the number of hearts they heal and the side effect.
Yeah.
And when you combine them in specific ways, they behave predictably. And
there's a logic to them.
Yeah, when you combine stronger ones, you get a better reaction. When you combine weaker ones, when you combine more, you get a stronger reaction. Yeah. And it means like it means that system is resistant to batching, right? Because if you only have 3 apples and 6 pieces of chicken and 6 mushrooms, then like my brain knows how to combine those in a way that gets what I want. But it would be difficult for me to say, I want to make all the stamina food that I can get and have the machine kind of automatically, run through that inventory.
The cooking is almost the equivalent of when you'd play RPGs as a kid and draw out the maps. Here, you're writing down your recipes. I write down the recipes on a little notebook, like my 3 favorite ones, because I need. Because once I got the ones like full health plus 5 yellow hearts, I'm like, oh god, I need. And you can select and discover what the recipe is. And I'm like, that's the one.
I love those Hardees.
The recipe system is so variable and dense that I feel like we're supposed to be sharing recipes with our friends.
Yeah, and the first time you make the pixelated, what is this gunk?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay, I probably shouldn't have.
Failure.
I love that they blur it out too.
Like here's I shouldn't have just thrown everything in the kitchen sink, and it's so clever.
Well, but it's so clever, but it's also obvious enough that you can figure it out without using a guide, right? That's the other key part of this game. Right. I don't think there's a couple of puzzles maybe in the shrines, some of the harder shrines that you might want to look up solutions to, but for the most part, this is a game that you can play and figure it out yourself if you want to poke at it a little bit.
I love that even within a shrine, a place where there was one shrine I got stuck in, and I spent half an hour in there. I'm like, oh, am I really stuck? And you can save in a shrine. You can teleport out of the shrine and explore the world again, and then come back, teleport back there, and then with new supplies, solve it.
Yeah. Did we talk like the map? So the map enables a lot of that stuff because it's a huge world. There's like 4 or 5 levels of magnification on the map, so you can get from a really overarching level that still doesn't show the entire map all the way down to like what's going on in the 20 acres surrounding you, and they let you put pins and stamps on the map. So there's a limited number of pins. They show up in the world when you look through the telescope, and they show up on your mini map. So you can kind of like if you need to go across the map and go on a long walk, you put a pin down and you walk toward the pin. The stamps make it easy for you to come back to stuff, which is something that's traditionally kind of hard in these kinds of games. Because like if you find something interesting in Skyrim, then you have to like write down where it was on the map because you're never going to find it again if you don't denote it. And because you can put a stamp that has a monster or treasure or a jewel or a star, whatever it happens to be, you can kind of do your own cartography and say, okay, the shrines that have monsters on them are ones that I didn't complete, or they're tests of strength that I wasn't able to do at the time, or whatever. Yeah. And that is a really, really simple, really, really clever solution for the losing things in the world problem that's common to a lot of open world games.
There's so much more to talk about Zelda. We're not going to do a full podcast about Zelda, so we got to go talk about other stuff.
All right.
We're going to continue. We're going to come back. We're going to play more Zelda. You guys play some Zelda, and we're going to revisit some of the. I think Zelda story time will have to happen in a future episode. One more.
If you're playing the game,
yes.
If you're playing the game, I think I said this either here on the Giant Bombcast a few weeks ago. Explore the edges of the map, like explore around the edge of the world, because the story doesn't necessarily take you to those places, but the developers really reward you with amazing things when you find some of the stuff around the edges.
All right. Let's talk about some media out there. A bunch of stuff dropped on Netflix this week. Did you guys see Dave Chappelle?
Oh no, is that out?
It
specials.
Came out. Two
at once?
Two
I
at
thought they were
once.
coming out staggered.
No.
Oh,
Holy
wow.
shit! How much? That's like 3 years worth of stand up for him.
They're
Well-
from his vault, so he sold
Okay.
them existing specials that he already recorded.
This is a crazy, amazing deal, and it really shows how much money Netflix is investing in either producing and creating original content, which they've done with a bunch of TV shows, or buying the rights to content. And stand-up, the last year they announced they had 2 big deals, I think 3 actually. Jerry Seinfeld, I think, just signed one. But Chris Rock, $40 million for 2 stand-up specials.
Wow.
What?
Dave Chappelle, $60 million for 3 stand-up specials.
Well, so I mean, the thing about comedians doing stand-up specials is that when you run that special,
That's it.
You're basically retiring that content. Like you're not going to do that on stage anymore. It's done, and that means you need a new hour and a half or hour or whatever length your show is.
Absolutely.
So
typically they
yeah.
do the tour. Like a comedian's business model is release an album, do a tour, and then do a stand-up special.
Yeah.
Or do the tour and then stand-up special and then an album. And then so you have the same routine can have long value. Louis C.K. a little different because he does a new stand-up special. He does a new 60 Minutes every year.
Yeah.
And Dave Chappelle can go on for hours.
Louis C.K. is really prolific, though.
Yeah.
And there's a great, I think, Comedians with Cars Getting Coffee with Seinfeld and Louis C.K. where they talk about this. I think it was Seinfeld and Louis C.K. It may have been an interview that Seinfeld did with somebody else, but basically he goes into the, you know what it was? It was a New York or Atlantic profile of Jerry Seinfeld, and he goes into the economics of how stand up, how this whole process works for most stand-ups.
Right.
It was really, really fascinating.
But for someone like Dave Chappelle, who has been out of the entertainment business for 10 years, but still doing stand-up, and he's popped up, he does underground shows. You don't film at shows, obviously. He has filmed himself at shows, so he does have a vault. And I think the deal he did with Netflix was incredible. $60 million for 3 specials, 2 full hours of Dave Chappelle dropped in one night. I watched them both last night.
Oh, yeah.
They're great.
Are they
Are they
current?
timely?
So one was from 2015.
That's close enough, probably.
Actually, it was 2015. I think it was 2015.
Yeah.
Austin City Limits, and you can tell that one. The production value wasn't as nice. It was still multi-camera, but it didn't seem like the best cameras, and it seemed a little dated.
Yeah,
from
maybe
the filmmaking.
only worth maybe 18 million.
Maybe.
Okay.
The jokes are so great, but the new one, they did one that was this year actually.
No.
Yeah.
Wait, you mean
2017,
2016?
right around.
There's a lot of Donald Trump jokes.
It's got to be 2016.
I think. Well, there's no political stuff.
Okay.
There's a time marker on it because it was 2016. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It was 2016 because it was right around when Gary Shandling died. And he made a
okay.
mention of that. But that was filmed, and it looks super nice, super polished. Another full hour, completely different jokes from the 2 specials, and it's great.
That's
Do you-
awesome.
When you guys watch a comedy special, like a stand-up special, do you sit down and watch the show, or do you do something else while you're listening?
No, never do anything else.
You watch.
I
Okay.
watched the
Yeah.
show.
Okay.
I don't know. When I was a kid, I just had the Robin Williams Live at the Met on VHS.
Was that was light? It was dark. It was light. It was dark. It was light. It was dark.
See, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
I wore that tape out. And I love the Richard Pryor live in concert from 79.
Yeah.
So for Netflix as a decision to do that, I don't think they're not making money on this. Spending $60 million on 3
how many
hours of
subscribers
content.
do they have paying $15 a month?
Well, it's how many new subscribers they want to get by buying this
How
content.
many subscribers do they retain?
And
too?
retention.
Yeah.
I mean, they're doing it to make money.
I think they're in aggregate,
Yeah.
yes, but it's more of a statement, I think. And they have a war chest where it's okay if the money doesn't work out, but they're still willing to do it so no one else has it.
Do you think? I mean, how do you think this? Because HBO is kind of where this kind of stand-up special would have lived in the past.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think this deal compares to an HBO deal?
Well, I think what
Was
Netflix is setting up
Yeah.
is they want to be in a position where they can raise prices and people not even bat an eye and be okay. Right now, it's what, $9, $8 a month for Netflix? 'Cause
Is that it? It's got to be more than that. It's got to be
that's what you
12.
think.
Depends.
Right? Isn't that what you think?
Well, if you get the 4K streaming and the family plan, it's a little more expensive.
Right.
Okay.
But it's worth $15 a month.
What
It's
does the
family
family plan give you? More able to play
Simultaneous
more
streams.
than. So right now we can only do one at $9.
I think 2.
2. Okay.
Yeah, but now my kids and my wife, we're all Netflixing
That's a
on the weekends.
ridiculous amount of content.
I looked at
that
the
you're
amount of Netflix. Well, the amount of streaming video we do on the Apple TV,
Yeah.
and it's almost half a terabyte a month.
Which
is
by the way,
gross.
the children's content on Netflix is they don't even advertise that, but it's what my kids watch.
It's funny. We do so for little kids. It's a lot more Hulu and HBO.
But they have a whole mode. You
I know.
put Netflix in.
So does Hulu and so
Oh, do
does
they?
Amazon. Yeah.
I think it's great. My kids spend, well, at least my daughter does now.
But at some point, these subscription services, right? You have Amazon, you have Hulu, you have HBO, you have Netflix. You don't have Apple for some reason. But at some point, you're going to reach critical mass. Now, I know that I'm talking about U.S. domestic because Netflix still has expansion opportunities with the deals they have overseas, and that's a whole separate business model. But at some point, you're going to reach some sort of critical mass in the U.S. and they got to raise prices.
You think?
Yeah, because right now,
Critical mass for what?
critical mass for adoption,
Oh, so that there's no more people to get. I don't know.
or it doesn't grow at the rate that as a business.
Once they stop acquiring new users, and if they want to keep growing revenue, then they have to increase
Exactly,
price.
and I don't think they're ever it's gonna be retention. Like they pay for retention, which is important, but they also at some point retention is easier because people just build into their costs. It's their cup of coffee. It's kind of like the price of the internet. It's price of their cell phones.
Yeah.
It's just a sunk cost for a large majority of consumers. I don't think a lot of people are doing the Netflix model where they evaluate month to month or 6 months to 6 months.
The place that they're at now is that it's a cheap enough service that you don't have to think about it. Right.
But in aggregate for all the competing services, like the way streaming video and streaming music works right now is, you're okay paying for Spotify and a Netflix and maybe an HBO, but if you're being asked to do pay for internet at home, pay for your cell phone, pay for Spotify, pay for NBA, pay for MLB, pay for all these a la carte things add up. At some point, all the business models are going to need to increase their prices because of inflation or because they've reached market saturation, and people are going to have to make tough choices about what they want to keep.
I feel like we're a long way from that.
Oh, yeah, I think the Comcast is the first victim of that math.
Someone's got to be a victim. Eventually, I feel like we're going to make a tough choice of having to ditch Hulu or something.
I see. It's interesting you say that because like Hulu is the one that's the most. Well, Hulu is where Curious George lives, which is very important to my family.
Well, that's the value proposition of having an exclusive or just having the war chest of content.
That's on PBS Kids. Just get the app.
It's not. It's gone. Hulu has exclusive.
You sure about that? All right.
Almost positive.
All right. I just want to say, if you are interested in comedy as an art form and you want to hear these comics talk about things like recycling content and how to be funny, this HBO special called Talking Funny with Ricky Gervais,
it's great.
Louis C.K., Chris Rock, and Jerry Seinfeld is the best hour you'll spend.
Oh yeah, it's worth rewatching.
They
crack each other up. It's on HBO.
It's on well, it's on YouTube.
Oh, it's on YouTube now.
I mean, it's
Oh, well, someone's ripped it for YouTube. It's a couple years old, and Ricky Gervais really isn't like a stand-up comedian, and
he's kind of there as the referee almost.
Right.
But they have so much respect for one another.
Yeah.
And they talk. They're very open with it. They're very honest. It's not all trying to be funny.
I think that's the one where Jerry Seinfeld talks about writing a new joke every day.
Yeah.
Has a big calendar on the wall, and if he does, he has to write a new joke.
Or he doesn't
every
put
day.
next on the calendar, right?
But they dissect. Yeah, X on the calendar.
Yeah.
They dissect jokes. Like if you have a swear word here, what makes it different?
And Jerry tells a Louis C.K. joke. And Louis like that's the Jerry Seinfeld version of my joke.
Right.
He's like that you made it funnier, but it's not how I would have told it.
Right.
It's like that. I love Comedians in Cars. Like I can't comedians, especially that first season of Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee before it became a thing, is an incredible. Like
it's the only thing that's held Crackle up, and it might go away. So Jerry Seinfeld signed a deal. It's going to Netflix.
Oh, really?
The back catalog of Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee.
Really?
Wow.
Plus, going forward, Netflix has swooped in, and Crackle might go away because of that.
Wow.
Wow, I didn't realize that was a Crackle joint.
Well, that's the only place you could have find it before.
I just typed it in a web browser and it popped up.
Sure. Yeah. Other things. We loosely talked about Iron Fist and the reviews being not great. Have either of you watched any of it?
No.
I have
I
watched.
haven't even finished Luke Cage yet.
The first.
I haven't started Luke Cage yet, but it seems like you don't like it.
I don't like it.
Okay.
So-
Shore didn't like it either.
After seeing the first episode, I'm really hesitant to give it more episodes.
Yeesh.
Yeah.
It's not because they cast a white actor in the role. Like, yes, there are issues with that, but that's not my issue with it. I would have been totally fine if they had a good story and a good script and good acting. It really feels like a low-budget sci-fi channel, and that's not a diss on sci-fi channel, but not the Netflix quality. It looks like an ABC network show. Plays it very safe.
Like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Lower budget than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, wow.
Like a lot of warehouse, a lot of it doesn't feel like it's a part of a
It's like
bigger
Pretty
world.
Little Liars.
That's ABC Family, sure.
Yeah, okay. I saw that clip online that went around the other day of a 35-second fight with 53 cuts in it. And then I read a story about the actor whose name I don't know not getting fight choreography until 15 minutes before scenes were shot.
Ooh.
And
It's like the opposite of the what is it, Daredevil?
Daredevil,
yeah,
yeah.
it's literally the opposite of what you want out of this franchise. So yeah, I'm okay.
Oh, yeah. A little disappointing. And I think the disappointment comes in the fact that you don't get a chance to reboot this. Like you get kind of one chance to get it right, and it's not going to be a couple decades until someone's going to spend a lot of money on this story. And so it's that's the frustration.
This is one of your
the
favorites
opportunity
too, right,
cost.
Norm?
It's one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, that sucks.
I'm bummed for you, man.
Yeah.
I heard Guardians of the Galaxy is supposed to have the best special effects we've ever seen.
Really?
Did you see that?
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what they're promising.
I don't think of that as I don't need that to have the best special effects.
Yeah,
I mean, as long as the tree dances at the end, I'm fine.
Yeah, right. Right. Like I don't watch that and like, oh, the raccoon doesn't look real enough, or the tree doesn't look like enough like a tree.
Yeah.
It's all about that movie's all about the writing.
I'm there for the Vin Diesel performance. Really,
It's supposed to be good. Also, Tom Cruise has been practicing for the past year for
I'm
his
excited.
stunt
I'm so
in the
excited.
upcoming Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
and making other movies. That's why Jack Reacher 2 sucked, because he wasn't
his head wasn't
invested
in it?
He was still rehearsing for the movie.
what? Like, okay, so
Well, he's also old now.
he climbed out of the side of the Burj Dubai.
Yeah.
Yes.
He
which was
dangled off of the side of a Russian cargo plane in the opening scene of the last
Which
Mission
is a big deal,
Impossible.
because the Mission Impossible, the thing that holds the series together isn't just Tom Cruise. It's also the stunts.
Big practical stunts.
Big practical stunts are the hallmark of the Mission Impossible series as we know it, the movie series. And
How important is that in the day of CG? I can't even tell the difference.
I think
it's super important.
Why?
Because if you look at Ghost Protocol, the Burj Dubai one,
Yeah.
versus say Fast and the Furious 7, which also has a Burj Dubai bit, I watch those two movies for completely different reasons, right? There's an appreciation of craft, and they seamlessly blend the digital stuff and the physical stuff, which is really, really hard thing to do. If you look at something like Kubo and the Two Strings and watch the making of that, where they merge puppetry and digital animation, and they do it so seamlessly that even people who know how that stuff works can't tell. It's like those are the things that stand the test of time.
But when you can't tell what's real and what's not, where's the impact? Don't you assume that if it was unsafe and expensive, they would have done it with CG?
Because you can always tell.
You can always tell, not just because of the physics, but because of the limitations of how you can film something.
Yeah.
With CG, when you have spoilers in the last Fast and Furious movie, a car going from one building to another, tallest buildings in the world, that's something that you couldn't film, and they embrace the fact that you couldn't film it by having impossible camera angles and impossible shots.
Making it a cartoon.
They're making Looney Tunes in real life.
But when you have one chance to shoot a stunt that an actor has been practicing or a stunt person has been rehearsing for a year, the limitations of the way you film it show up in the filming, and the danger feels very real.
Not necessarily. I think a lot of people who don't know about the stunt factor of a Mission Impossible film might go in there casually and just assume it was all done with green screen.
That's fine. It adds to my appreciation that I know that they did the hard stuff in a real way, and they do the car stunts real too. Like when they ran that car at the end of Ghost Protocol off of the inside of the parking garage, like
landed it.
A lot of that was a practical effect, right? Which is an incredibly dangerous, incredibly hard, incredibly high skill thing. And if you look at something that does pure CG, if you look at like Lord of the Rings movies where they were, and this is a bad example because it's 15 years old now, but you look at Legolas skating down the back of an elephant and he looks like a limp rag doll.
Yep.
Like that stuff, like that would have been an infinitely better thing if they had him doing a practical effect that they composited in rather than doing a CG body that a face was stuck on.
I'm totally with you, and I think that's part of the problem with the Matrix sequels. I think the first Matrix film had a lot of cool wire fu and real photography.
Yeah.
The second two had a lot of CG, and it suffered for that. I'm just wondering in a case where as CG gets better and better, where you can't tell the difference. You know, what's the point? I feel bad because when I know that something's done practically, I do appreciate it more.
And that's marketing. I mean, that's why.
Maybe you're right, but it's also your social circle.
Right. Well, I mean, because it's been a hallmark, because the poster for the last Mission Impossible movie was a still from that camera of Tom Cruise holding on to the side of the cargo plane, and all the material was building up to that hype, because the very fact that we're talking about the story that Tom Cruise has been training for a year
for this mystery
stunt, like that builds the mystique, and then hopefully it pays off.
Yeah. No, that's true.
This is also the first Mission Impossible movie that will be directed by a previous director.
Oh, somebody's coming back?
Chris McQuarrie's coming back and doing it again.
He did the last one?
He did the last one.
Brad Bird did the one before that.
Brad Bird. I love the Brad Bird one. The last one was okay.
Last one was great. I think Chris McQuarrie is a wonderful
he's
director.
a fabulous director.
And writer too.
Is he writing it as well?
I think he's writing it
or
as
is
well.
he at least on the list?
He also
I
wrote and
assume?
directed the first Jack Reacher movie, which I liked.
The thing about like that's such an interesting franchise because if you look at what it's done, like there's no even in the first couple. Like there's not. I mean, I guess there's the scene in the CIA in the first one where he's dangling down. That's a famous scene. But those movies are much more tense than actiony, and they became much more actiony from 3 on basically.
I completely agree. I think the stunt for the cargo plane happened so fast and because it was so much of a physical stunt, that they didn't have the same kind of tension. Like him dangling on the side, I didn't feel afraid. It was still.
I do like
amazing.
I like that those are in the cold open though. Like I loved that was the cold open because then like they were able to use it to market and it didn't spoil any part of the movie. And then the stuff that came later, I was really impressed with and excited about.
Yeah.
Whereas in Ghost Protocol, because that was that was the climactic scene of the movie, or one of the climactic scenes of the movie, you kind of
It was in the middle of the movie actually.
well, yeah, I guess, but my point is, you knew that was coming because it was again part of all the marketing.
Yeah.
So like not saving that for the big moment in the film was good.
It was also, I mean, very good point because there are 2 big quote unquote stunts in the last Mission Impossible movie. One is the opening, the cold open with the plane, and the other one is the holding his breath underwater. And the holding the breath underwater is
cheap.
It's cheap because it is CG, like because of the impossible camera angles, and there's no tension in that at all.
That's why I didn't like I didn't like the movie because that scene is the pivot for the movie, and that scene didn't work for me. Yeah. I mean, the movie was fine. It was an interesting story. It was told well, but it went back to that thriller for the back half of the movie, and I wanted more big action stunts and ridiculousness.
The motorcycle chase scene was pretty good.
I don't even remember the motorcycle chase scene.
It was a really good motorcycle chase scene.
Yeah,
The second or third one has a horrible motorcycle chase scene.
it's the second one, the John Woo one.
John Woo, yeah,
where
where they go against each other.
Oh, those motorcycles change from street tires to dirt bike tires
Is that right?
between 2 shots.
That's funny.
It's awful. But the third, I think my favorite's still the third one.
It's the first J.J. Abrams movie, first movie he directed.
Yeah, the J.J. Abrams, Philip Seymour Hoffman one is so tense, and the villain is so evil, and it just outbonds Bond. It's a good film.
A couple other movies. I don't know if you guys saw. Also dropped on Netflix. Sausage Party is on Netflix.
That movie's amazing.
Really?
So
It's so dumb.
there are 2 movies in the past couple of years that are so dumb but so amazing.
Yeah.
One is Pop Star,
I knew you were going to say Pop Star.
and the other one is Sausage Party.
Yeah.
And both of those, if you can't stand crass humor and inappropriate humor, and you have a low tolerance for that stuff, it's not for you.
I wonder how many families have turned on Sausage Party accidentally.
I'm sure.
But
I'm sure.
I was astounded. Like my mouth was on the floor the whole time. Just like, how did this movie get made?
That opening for Sausage Party?
How did Sony approve this movie to get made?
I just assumed it was after the Korea hack, and they were like, "Fuck it, do whatever you want. Here's some money." The opening musical number in Sausage Party.
Really?
I was
Musical number.
shocked that it wasn't like it was South Park levels of funny for me.
It didn't get a good Rotten Tomato.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's also a lot of horrible behind the scenes stories about the making of that movie because they worked the animators to death, and the company went bankrupt and underpaid
Is
them.
it practical? No, it's all CG.
It's all CG,
Okay.
but like the animators.
I think it could be claymation.
You really can't tell the difference.
Well, no, I was like, did they do claymation hot dogs?
No.
That's what it kind of looks like.
And that's terrible because animators are probably CG animators are probably the most underappreciated people working in modern effects today, and their whole stories about horror stories about how animation companies.
Well, there's a
still
lot
under-
of like the way studios treat animation companies in general is bad.
But for a plot that's basically a dick joke,
It's a 90-minute dick joke.
90-minute dick joke, they went surprisingly deep.
I stand corrected. It got an 83 Rotten Tomato.
Yeah, it's that
No
film.
pun intended. Anyway.
That
What I stand
No.
Just the
They-
tip. Just the tip.
They
Norm.
went deep.
I
They went
stand-
deep with the dick joke.
I stand erect. What?
It's Gina and I put that movie on one night and we're like, this can't be good,
Yeah.
and we're dying.
I hope
laughing.
the
It's
daughter was in
hilarious.
bed.
Of course.
All right.
Popstar
movie-
also very
Yeah,
good.
Popstar is very good. Movie cannot recommend. It just came out. Assassin's Creed.
Why would you watch an Assassin's Creed movie?
I put Lego while watching it, so it was putting in the background, but it was horrible.
Is it worse than that Prince of Persia movie with Jake Gyllenhaal?
Yes.
Wow, that's a
Sorry,
really low bar.
Ubisoft. Sorry, Ubi.
What other Ubisoft joint? Is it worse than the Hitman movies? There's been
I don't think I ever saw.
There've been 2 Hitman
is
movies.
Eidos.
Think about that.
Eidos,
I know.
with 2 different actors too.
Yeah.
That Assassin's Creed movie was terrible.
Did he stab people?
They missed opportunity of not dropping into a bale of hay.
Which
in a
assassin?
cart of hay.
Which assassin? Is it
It's
Ezio?
completely new.
Is it? But is it like an Italian assassin? Is it a Middle Eastern assassin? Where does he?
It's
fall?
Spanish. It's the Inquisition. Spanish Inquisition.
So is it in Spain?
It's in Spain. So nothing, no continuity wise, nothing to do with the movie or the game.
Is there a future world and a past world?
Yeah, there's a modern day with an animus, and then there's the past world, but they're so disconnected that it was
Okay.
a bad script. Last thing coming out on Blu-ray this week, Rogue One.
I've tried to order that, but it's not available on Amazon.
So wait,
What?
is it out now or did
Wait,
it
how
come
can
out
the movie?
Friday?
They ran out of Blu-rays.
Nope.
What?
Remember a few years ago when Amazon and Disney
Oh, hold on.
Good God.
had a fuss, and
Wait,
they
wait.
didn't have pre-orders up for Disney movies for a while?
No
couldn't-
way.
I had to go to Best Buy to buy Moana.
Rogue One. You cannot
You cannot
buy-
pre-order.
Rogue
you-
One Blu-ray on. Yeah,
If you type Rogue One Blu-ray on Amazon, you get Rogue One, a Star Wars story Blu-ray format. We don't know when or if this item will be back in stock.
that is mind-blowing.
Guess what Amazon gives no fucks about, Norm?
Blu-rays.
Disc sales. You can pre-order it on
The digital. Amazon Video costs them $0 to
God, that's interesting.
enable on your.
They must have not gotten the pricing they wanted or something.
No,
Because they got this new deal on video games. You get 20% off for pre-ordering discs for games.
Yep.
Which means that they got some great deal.
Remember how we used to talk about the Amazon predicting the future and predicting what you want to buy? This is the perfect example where, based on your past shopping history, they should have Blu-rays in boxes, in trucks, in all UPS trucks,
Yeah.
where you can press the button and it'll arrive in
they should
5
just send it
minutes.
to my house and be like, if you want this, don't leave it out on the curb.
You're right.
Take it inside. It's
right.
yours.
Your next Amazon shipment, they'll either take it back or charge you.
What's another Disney movie that's has an upcoming video release? Moana's already out. Is there another Pixar movie that's out but not out?
No.
The Pixar movie last year was Dory, so it's already out. I guess there's no upcoming Disney releases. But yeah,
Well-
so you couldn't pre-order Moana.
Doctor Strange?
Doctor Strange came out last. You couldn't pre-order Doctor Strange. You couldn't pre-order Rogue One.
That's mind-blowing.
Yep.
I wonder how much money Amazon's losing on that by people not being able to pre-order.
I think Jeff Bezos doesn't give a fuck.
He's running Gen robots.
Well, I can pre-order the movie. Oh, you're saying that's
Yeah, that's
to
Amazon
stream.
Video.
That's video.
Yeah.
I don't want that garbage.
Yeah.
Weird.
That's
I want a disc, something I can hold in
bonkers.
my hand.
Holy smokes! Well, to promote the Blu-ray release of Rogue One, Gary, previous co-host of This Is Only a Test, is and story one of the writers on Rogue One. He's been in a bunch of interviews, which they've revealed a bunch of things.
Really?
That we've had questions about the film.
K2SO was originally a Wookiee.
No,
Jen was originally a guy named Jim
no,
Halpern.
no. Gary, I think in a bunch of different interviews, talked about how the original ending was supposed to happen, and confirming the fact that in one of the versions of the script or the story, that both Jin and the Cassian character, which was named differently, survived.
Huh. It was originally going to be Lando Calrissian.
No, I
Okay.
don't think so. But they would have survived in running away from the beach, getting on a ship, meeting up with the Tantive 4, and then being attacked and then surviving in an escape pod. But the fact
But hold on. They shot down all the escape pods coming out of the Tantive 4.
not all of them.
That's except for the droids. There's
Except
no
for the
life
droids.
signs on this one. Save
That's
your
right.
shot.
Well, I think the way they're telling the story is that when Gary, and we should really have Gary come on the podcast and explain it in his own words, but based on what he's told other people, when they were coming up with the original script or the story outline based on the John Knoll story outline, they felt like the characters should die.
We should probably say there are probably going to be some spoilers about Rogue
Yeah.
One here.
What?
Come on.
That's okay.
I think that's okay.
just
Everyone out
saying.
there, if you have not seen Rogue One, you're listening to this podcast, watch Rogue One and then listen to the
Okay.
podcast. They felt like Disney wouldn't let them have everyone die. They felt like it was the right thing to do for everyone to die for the story. But
Well,
then they
It's a
didn't
Star Wars
think,
film. Who dies in a Star Wars
exactly.
film?
They didn't think that Disney
Boba
would
Fett.
let them kill everyone. And so they wrote in a version where two people survived. And then after Gary left the script and Chris Weitz came in, the idea still was there that they wanted everyone to die. And then when they met with the top brass, Kathleen Kennedy or Bob Iger said, you know what? It's okay. We can have people die. It's a standalone film. And so they went back to the original gut instinct, which was to have everyone die. And I think the movie turned out better for it.
Like having everybody die made the movie fabulous.
Absolutely.
What are the things that Gary? I mean, it seemed like the story transformed so much. They always wanted to have these commandos in a beachfront in a war movie, put the war in Star Wars. I think Gary talked about how they came up with 12 different names or a dozen different names for the film, and Rogue One was one that stuck. And
It was his name.
It was his name. He came up with the name Rogue One.
Chester's Tale was my personal favorite.
But something that he talked about, just in the coming up with the name, was he wanted to have it be different from the other titles by not having it be 3 to 4 words, and having it be 1 or 2 words, something simple, impactful, but not be,
A
new
verb
hope,
and a
revenge of the
prepositional
Sith.
phrase.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that already set the tone
Or
differently.
a noun and a prepositional phrase, I guess.
And at some point, they had a opening crawl.
Yeah, I want to know what the opening crawl.
Well, that makes sense. Like we all talked about that. You
Right.
and Kishore were adamant that they would have an opening
Right.
crawl because it's a Star Wars
It's a
movie.
Star
Why
Wars
not?
film, right.
And this other guy on this podcast suggested maybe that wouldn't be
Who
the
is
case.
this other guy?
How would you set this movie
It's the one that
apart?
always talks over everybody.
That would be really, really smart if they could set it apart that way. It would be slightly different. It would open and immediately something's different about this
did
movie.
it have a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away?
Yeah.
No.
Wait.
It didn't, did it?
Did it?
It did.
Okay, maybe it had that.
Hey Siri,
Yeah,
does
it
Rogue
had that.
One have
No,
a long time ago in a
no,
galaxy
But,
far, far
but
away?
it didn't have the Star Wars theme.
Right. It had a long time ago, Galaxy Far, Far Away, and then faded into. So, I haven't seen the film.
Hey
Since,
Siri is where I want to have lunch.
Oh my
is what
goodness.
she came up with.
Don't embarrass Apple.
Siri, good grief.
I haven't seen the film since I watched since theaters.
I haven't either.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I went on that Disney cruise where it was on every day.
Oh, that's right.
What?
Yeah, it was great.
That's all I would have done.
Like 2 weeks after it came out in the theaters, it was on the ship.
of course.
Great.
I'm
They have
surprised
a-
no one
they
filmed
know a
that and
guy.
released it online.
I bet that they would have searched you on the way out of the boat if they thought that somebody had filmed a.
Yeah.
You could have filmed it 10 seconds at a time with their Snapchat spectacles.
I don't want to make a spectacle of myself.
Was about to.
These aren't my spectacles.
No, these are the tested.
Did you get these from a vending machine?
I didn't. They actually, before their IPO, they allowed online sales.
Sellouts.
Andy Bio, who runs XOXO Conference Delicious, he'd been putting together, and we talked about this in a previous podcast, a spreadsheet online tracking what's thing that's interesting to him, which is how soon after a movie comes out does a pirated copy of it, not a cam version, but like
An actual
digital
screen or
something.
Yeah, something watchable.
And for Rogue One, there had been no leaks for Rogue One up until I believe like last week.
Wow. So when Blu-rays went to manufacture,
That was true of Force Awakens as well.
Really?
And I was shocked at that.
Right, because the expectation is that when a movie comes out very soon after, someone finds a copy. There were screeners for Rogue One for the Oscars because it was nominated, right? Like people
Yeah.
must have.
I don't know if
must
they
have
sent
sent
screeners for that though. They don't
I
have to
don't
send
think they
screeners.
sent screeners out.
Really?
It-
No, they just assume everybody sees it.
In any case, they've also, I mean, like there was just a dearth. There was not even cams. It was like they had figured out some way to fight piracy, but they reserved it for Star Wars. It was weird.
Yeah. So there's a sociological thing, like from the I don't know the mindset of like the pirating community. Like isn't that like for them a badge of honor to be able to pirate such a high profile film
Exactly.
and be like their pirating group is the one that released the ones that everyone downloads.
You'd think that the frequency or the quantity of pirated copies would be proportional to the popularity of the film.
Right. But not so. Like what how did Disney avoid this film getting released or
Yeah,
pirated?
I want to know.
Anybody who tried to pirate the movie, they sent Walt Disney's reanimated corpse out to get, and they murdered them.
Vader
Yeah.
went and hunted down every copy.
Do I look cool?
You're like Paul Schaefer over there.
I was thinking about shaving my head. Yeah, I don't know how, like...
So
like that movie was a wide release. There were millions of theaters. It was in dollar theaters, all the
Yeah.
places that normally cams come from. So I'm shocked that they managed to squelch the cams.
Was it a case where the people who typically propagate and pirate the films wouldn't settle because it was such a high-profile film? They wouldn't settle for a crappier version.
No way.
And only wanted the best, the Blu-ray
No, that's
quality
not
version.
not the way this works.
People pirate anything, crappy versions.
They're just in it
anything.
for the notoriety. They would have done anything.
Yeah.
It's definitely an interesting story.
I found it fascinating. Very interesting.
I just took 30 seconds of Snapchat video.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fill up those glasses well. All right. Any last bits of pop culture news?
I don't think so.
All right. Let's move on to the next segment.
Should I unmute?
Yes. Did either of you watch Beauty and the Beast
Oh God.
over the weekend?
I don't even like the original one.
What?
No.
One of the best animated films of all time.
Who says who?
Pixar was involved in it.
Yeah, the library scene,
the ballroom
ballroom
CG
scene.
is very pretty. That's really good. No. I'm much more of a Little Mermaid guy. I'm
Both of these, as a father of a young girl, both of these movies are a little bit problematic.
Yes,
But I
that's
really
true.
like Beauty and the Beast a lot.
Back in the day when Disney movies were problematic for girls.
Well, this film came out over the weekend. I haven't seen it yet. They made a crap load of money, $174 million over the
Holy
weekend.
crap.
More money than, let's say, The Dark Knight. I think more money than...
Wasn't the Dark Knight? I guess the Dark Knight was PG-13, right?
Yeah. But just in context of
It's
how...
hard to compare.
Right. But the reason this is in tech news is leading up to the film, part of the marketing popped up in a surprising place, in Google Home.
Oh
Do either of you have Google Home?
no.
No.
So Google
Why would I have?
Home-
Should I have Google Home, Norm?
No, you shouldn't have Google Home.
Okay.
Do you have an Echo?
Yeah, I have
I think
3
you're-
Echoes.
I think you're all right. Yeah. So Google Home allows you to query your schedule for the day. And a lot of people found, that when they asked their Google Home about their calendar for the day last week before the movie came out,
Wow.
at the end of the itinerary, Google Home dropped a mention for the film. By the way, did you realize that the film Beauty and the Beast is coming out this weekend? And would you like to watch it?
That's horrible. Devil's advocate, though. That's what we want. We want that to be intelligent. I do want my AI to make suggestions to me that's based on my own, browsing
Your
history.
purchasing history?
My purchasing history, yeah.
Guess what
that kind of thing.
Amazon's working on?
Well, bring it. Because that's not a bad idea. I want that kind of thing. I like targeted advertisement if it's appropriate.
So you want Amazon, you want the Echo to say, by the way, Rogue One comes out on Blu-ray. Say yes if you want it to pre-order and have it by 6 p.m. tonight, so you can watch it tonight.
Yes.
At the end after you get your traffic in.
That's right.
You want to be that smart, but you want it to be democratized. You want every option there, and then target not just the one thing that's spammed out to everyone.
Better yet, we have a Prime Now delivery guy in your neighborhood right now. Would you like a copy in 5 minutes?
Chad.
Hey, here's a notification.
UPS driver is 0.8 miles away. If you say yes within 30 seconds, he will make a left turn and come and drop it off before your daily commute.
Look, there's a drone hovering above your house right now. We can drop a copy of Rogue One on Blu-ray or a stink bomb. Your choice.
Or a pair of sneakers.
Yeah. I like that the calendar thing on Google Home is the one thing that makes me think I want Google Home, because it would be nice to have in the office. Like, I don't have an Echo in the office right now. It controls my lights. The Home can control my lights. Having something that I say, hey, what's my schedule today, when I sit down in the office first thing in the morning would be nice. But the fact that they're going to jam ads in there makes me not want that product.
Yeah. They said, and the way they went about apologizing for it was terrible.
What did they do?
Oh my
They
God.
offered everybody free tickets to Beauty and the Beast?
No. There was an official statement. Oh my goodness.
3% off. Order your tickets through the Google. Could you order the tickets? Could you say, hey, get me some tickets for this?
Yeah, you could definitely order tickets from it.
Fuck.
So
This makes me want
Google's
to take all of these things
initial
out of my house.
response was, this is an ad. The beauty in the assistant is that it invites our partners to be our guest and share their tales.
Fuck everything. Oh my God. What the fuck is wrong with people?
Oh my goodness. There's
Who would think that's a good idea?
4 mentions in their response.
Who
Don't be evil, Will.
was the film good?
I don't know. I didn't see it.
Oh, I assumed you would have gone and see it already.
I heard it wasn't good. The reviews were not great. But it didn't matter. It made a ton of money.
So the nice thing about that is when we went to see Lego Batman, and the trailer for that played before Lego Batman, and my daughter was like, "This movie looks really interesting." So we went and watched the animated one. She's like, "This is a great movie, Dad." So now we watch a lot of Beauty and the Beast at the house. I'm very excited.
Wow, just like that.
Be our guest.
So for every time Google messes up and does something really stupid, it's okay if they counter that by doing something smart.
No,
such as improving the JPEG algorithm to make file sizes 35% smaller.
Are they using that for Are they trying to sell me an ad to Beauty and the Beast somehow?
No, they're speeding up your internet speed.
They're speeding up.
Your internet
The
experience.
last time they sped up my internet experience, it made a bunch of dead links all over the web that I can't find news stories for. So everything starts with amp.google.garbage.
So do I need
Does this do that?
Do I need new decompression algorithms in my browser to see these?
Well, it'll probably be built into Chrome eventually.
Yeah. What about everybody else?
So basically they're making JPEG not backwards compatible now?
That's what I'm asking.
That seems like a bad idea.
No, I think it should work with existing, actually, with existing browsers. And the algorithm is freely available to download.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
So if I make a JPEG with Photoshop, will it use this new technology?
Good question.
Do you ever use Save for Web?
Yeah.
I never use Save
Yeah,
for Web.
you got to.
I use Quick Export
like
as ping.
Animated GIF. You got to do that, I think.
Thanks, Jeremy.
What?
He didn't think.
Yeah. At this point, this argument is so muddled in all of our heads that none of us remember. All I know is I love drinking gin.
That's a analog for the political environment these days. Back to the Switch.
Yeah.
The three of us in this room have it. You know how much they're going for on eBay these days?
$1 million.
They sell for $300.
Yes.
Yeah.
On retail.
Wait, are you saying I could finish Zelda real quick and then unload this on eBay for bank?
How much? $500.
Is that right?
Yeah.
$200 profit plus I get to play Zelda?
That's right.
All I got to do is trade my save.
You know, once you're done with Zelda, there's nothing else to do on this.
But my save's gone forever.
And what's going to be good even if you did have something else to do?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, Binding of Isaac's out. That game's awesome.
You know, Shovel Knight is out. The revamped one. Shovel Knight's great. It's hard.
It didn't stick for me.
It's good. It's good. I finished it. It's good.
It's the kind of NES game I didn't like.
Is it in the Japanese store or the American store?
The American store.
Okay, you don't need to create a Japanese account for that. Cool. Well, Nintendo has announced the Switch is selling far more than they expected, and they are gonna double production this year.
Wow.
When will they learn? Did they not sell as many Wii U's?
Look, we were buying initial batch Wii U's until like 2015.
Is that right?
Yeah, I mean maybe not that much, but they like that initial batch of Wii U's never sold out.
Wii U, right. Wii U.
Your phone, Jeremy.
That's Jeremy again.
Sorry.
They're gonna double production to 16 million units this year.
That's optimistic. How many? There's like 40 million PS4s in the market now. Is that what the total's at?
I don't know what the exact numbers are, but 16 million would be a F-ton. That would be a lot. That's Wii levels. It could be the most successful console they've had since the Wii. And maybe something that you're going to play more than Nintendo games on.
Well, and potentially they can put multiple ones in each house. Like if you have two kids and have a Switch, I can see
That's an expensive proposition.
Well, I mean it is now, but in a year and a half it won't be.
Oh, when they're not $300.
When they're not $300, because the price on those will drop. My prediction,
Yes.
starting with the HP and their WebOS tablet, I have a long history of great predictions, but I think that this price on this is going to come down way faster than on traditional consoles.
You think that's because they're going to release the Switch Pro?
I don't think they're going to release the Switch Pro. I think that ARM-based tablets.
Like the X1 processor that's in the Switch is already a year and a half old.
That's my point. And like if you think about the cost on that thing, that's Joy-Cons and like all the weird hardware that comes around that, so it'll drop fast.
God, that's great for NVIDIA because NVIDIA makes the chip in there, and that's the expensive part is the brains of the unit. The plastics and the molds are not the big cost. NVIDIA, as long as they work out a deal to just crank out those X1 chips, NVIDIA has not had a success because previously their Tegra chips have been on their devices, Shield, and some Android tablets, but nowhere near this kind of mass market appeal. When was the last time a console of this mass market was made with like a tablet chip? Because the Wii's, it's never happened. Wii's was custom AMD chips.
ARDX, yeah.
And the 3DS weren't tablet chips.
Custom ARM chips.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could say the iPad.
Nobody's ever made a tablet that was a gaming console before. I mean, the analog is, but the consoles have like the TV consoles have had this kind of same structure for a long. They've used RISC-based chips with custom tweaked GPUs since the Xbox One.
And unit-wise, I guess tablets. There are many more tablets sold than consoles sold.
Yeah, how many iPads? Apple
Many,
sold 43
many
million
more.
iPads last
Yeah.
year, which is more than Dell sold PCs.
Yeah,
it was
you
a
can't-
bad year.
But you can't charge $60 for a piece of content on a tablet.
That's the problem.
Like you can on a console.
Isn't that magic?
It's purely psychological.
It's totally perception.
Purely 100% perception, where it's the same hardware, but because like if you had a like the last NVIDIA tablet that had the X1 chip and a version of Nintendo software for Android and some 3D printed controllers or some Bluetooth, it would work. The Joy-Cons would work on them. No one would pay $60 for Zelda.
$10 for Mario game. Oh, F that.
But a million people, 89% attach rate.
Yeah.
$60 for Zelda. No problem.
If they only had an 89% attach rate, what the hell else are other people playing?
That's a ridiculous attach rate. I think
I mean,
a lot of people probably.
I bought that machine to play Zelda.
Well, I
Yes.
bet a bunch of those units are. I don't know if it's 11%.
Speculative?
Were bought just for the units to resell.
I mean that would make sense. So there are games coming out for that thing. Splatoon will be good. The last Splatoon was really good. You played, Jeremy, right?
I didn't finish it. No, I wasn't that into
There's
it.
no.
You really
there's
like
no
it?
single player. It's just a
Oh,
multiplayer game.
yeah. I'm thinking of something
Splatoon.
else. No, my son loved it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was popular in your household.
It was popular in my household. Yeah, and I'm
Um,
sure he's excited about the new one.
The Puyo Puyo Tetris, which comes out in April, I think.
Come on,
Dude,
Really?
that
Really?
game is amazing.
There's not gonna be anything good until Mario.
Puyo Puyo Tetris is a competitive Tetris game that you can play this other puzzle game from Japan called Puyo Puyo.
Yeah.
It's really good.
All right.
I have the PS4 version. You can borrow it.
Super Mario Kart 7 Redux.
8 Redux.
With battle mode.
Excited about that?
Already pre-ordered.
Is it?
Really? But you didn't play 8 on the Wii U,
Yeah, I
really?
did.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I have very little interest in playing that with those shitty Joy-Cons.
It's for the multiplayer.
But who are you going to play multiplayer Mario Kart with?
My wife in bed.
Well,
How about that?
there you go.
You heard
That's-
it here, folks.
That's what the Switch is for. It's
Bed-
to sit on a pillow
Yeah,
on a stand and
Yeah.
play, and then fall asleep.
for 2 hours, and then you got to recharge it.
It lasts longer than 2 hours for me. Seems like.
Not much. The battery
Oh,
life
no.
is not an iPad. It's not.
I leave
it's
it
not a
sitting in my
laptop.
office on the desk all day, and when I have like 10 minutes while I'm waiting for something, I'll pick it up and play a shrine.
It's the battery life needs to be improved.
So the hardware is still relatively new, and people have reported a lot of the review units had left Joy-Con connection
yeah.
problems.
I was
where
worried.
disconnect,
About that. Yeah,
right?
there's a lot of that.
And apparently, Nintendo's doing a good job of replacing defective ones.
Oh, they are.
And the new ones that you buy on Amazon today actually have the issues solved. Now, people have taken apart the Joy-Cons, and there is a noticeable difference in how it's set up.
They're
There's a
left and right are
Between left
totally
and right?
different architectures.
Yes, and because the right one also has the
NFC.
the NFC, and also the proximity sensor.
The right one actually
Oh.
has an antenna soldered into the board, but the left one has no external antenna.
So it's like just
built
an-
into the chip, built into the
Oh.
circuit. So to hack it, this guy soldered a wire onto it, and it worked great. It
Science.
actually improved the distance. Now it's better than the right one.
Huh.
Also,
But-
there is a piece of foam.
Well, that's what they did officially. Like the
Yes.
official fix is there's a bit of foam between the antenna and the edge of the case.
Oh, so they think it was shorting out?
Well, they just think it was too close to your hand, so you were cupping where the antenna
Ah.
is on the left Joy-Con. So now there's more distance.
So my complaint with the Joy-Cons is that the it's a metal on plastic interface, and after only using it for 2 weeks, it's wobbly. Like when you
what
hold the
aspect?
Joy-Cons in the tablet, if you hold it like that,
Oh, really?
there's a little bit of wobble on mine now,
How
where
about
the
that?
plastic has given over
How
just
about that?
a couple of weeks, which that worries me.
Do you see the story of Alan Pan, who was one of the contestants on the search for the new Mythbusters: The Search? He, hardware hacker, who created a Raspberry Pi powered ocarina
Okay.
Oh, like the actual ocarina.
to control
Yes,
his
smart house.
Smart house.
That's pretty cool. I want to see
Wow.
that.
Yeah.
Is there a video?
There is a video. Yeah, it's
That's
on
pretty
YouTube
great.
right now. We'll put it in the show notes.
By the way, about 50 hours into Zelda Breath of the Wild, I finally realized that all of the stables are playing the theme from what's the
Epona's thing.
opponent? Yeah. How do you spell Epona?
EPONA.
Yeah, Epona's theme. Yeah.
That's cool.
And I was like, that's nice.
Yeah. There's like the people who made that claim clearly love them some Zelda.
Yeah.
Did you guys see the story about the guy who posted on a message board like 10 years ago and was like, hey, I really want to move to Japan and make games for Nintendo, but I'm a high school student and don't know how to do it.
And then he became a programmer
And he's in the credits for Breath of the Wild.
What?
So like the responses were, hey, if you don't have money and you can't learn Japanese to take, can't afford the class to learn Japanese as a fluency, go teach English. So apparently he moved to Japan to teach English. And X number of years later is a programmer on Breath of the Wild.
There was a petition to get Robin Williams represented in the game when he died.
Mm-hmm.
He famously
because he loves Zelda.
He famously named his daughter after Zelda. And
Really?
and Nintendo, you knew that.
I didn't know that.
Zelda Williams.
I assumed it was Fitzgerald.
And they responded, and they said we miss Robin Williams as much as anybody, and we appreciate the sentiment. They never promised they would do anything, and I wonder if there's something in that game named Robin.
There are guys that you meet in this that are vendors and stuff, and that look like Robin Williams, kind of.
I mean, the game's been in development since 2013. I want to say it took a long time to make this game. The timing was right for this to come out on Wii U, and there to be the
they changed the timing several times because it was originally like an early last year title.
And I've played a lot of 4-year in development games that are nowhere near this scale.
I mean, the sad thing is that I'm great they spent the effort. It's just that we probably, as one of the best games now reviewed of all time, it's going to be a while before we get another game of this caliber. Not that they were short on content. There's plenty of great games out there to play.
It's a pretty good month for games.
But that video you're alluding to, Will, where they talked about that, they showed off the fact that in prototyping this game, they made a 2D version of Zelda.
Well, there's some questions about whether they made a 2D version of Zelda or maybe there's a 2D Zelda creation tool.
A la like Mario Maker.
Zelda Maker, yeah. Like people said because I tweeted that video. The video goes through a little bit. There's 3, I think, behind the scenes videos that are on Nintendo's official YouTube channel that basically go through a lot of their process and thinking of making the game. And one of the things that I thought was fascinating was they built a 2D prototype of the overworld for this game, or large portions of the overworld that they could use as a test bed.
It looks
for mechanics,
just like the first Zelda,
like Legend of Zelda. Yeah,
a little fancier with some shadows. But I didn't understand how this prototype could inform any of the gameplay because so much of that the emergent gameplay that we're talking about, the physics don't apply in a 2D environment.
Well, but they do. Like you can light your weapon on fire and then light the trees on fire, or fire an arrow through fire to make the bushes on the other side catch on fire.
But the thing that makes it overworld, the climbing aspect of it, like the exploration, the reason you would want a 2D map to play, like, even if you reduce it to like a board game, right, a tabletop game, like, is it just the layouts? Is it about the interactivity?
I think it's about the interactivity.
I don't know. I think Norm's right. I think that this lent itself to a good video. Who wouldn't want to see this? It's good spectacle. I don't know how much of this game was actually informed by that experience.
But if you're talking about like building out the flow of the world to figure out where is Death Mountain next to Zora Land,
so it's drawing
or
on a
whatever.
map.
Yeah. It seemed to me like it was to prototype the movement through the world. And the way you can interact with objects in the world, they actually illustrate several of the things that you do in the final game, and show combat. Like a lot of the combat scenarios, like the situation where the moblins are surrounding you and they're on a horse and you're not,
but
so they start riding in circles.
Different.
It doesn't matter.
The scale is all like it's all 16 by 16 grid, world environments.
Yeah,
it's not.
But it's hey, is this fun? Hey, is this fun? Translates from 2D to 3D.
I don't know.
I'm more
the thing that
I think they're making Zelda Maker, and that was their tease for Zelda
and I
Maker.
hadn't thought of that till you brought that up. This is a great idea.
I would
Zelda
love,
Maker, yeah.
I would love a make your own Zelda game.
Here's the
Legend
one
of
thing
Zelda.
that I could imagine what the purpose of that exercise in making the analog, starting with, is if they want to retain a lot of the core elements of Zelda, and then see how they would expand on that, because there are a lot of core elements of Zelda, from the opening of the chest to the lighting candles to the rafts, right? And if they tried to build a SNES style Zelda, and then looked at where the limits were and then expanded on that, I could see how you could have that progression.
Well, so the thing to me, it feels to me like they went back to, like, if you look at Zelda, I've talked about this before and may have been here, I apologize, but it looks like they went back to the very first Zelda and looked at all the things that came after that and said, okay, what actually makes a Zelda game. And they kind of did this with the Link Between Worlds, but they really, really went at it this time. And they said, if imagine if instead of evolving toward that linear dungeon structure that became popularized after, I guess, Link to the Past, and really with Ocarina and Majora's Mask and everything that came after that, what if instead we went back and re-evolved this to be more open world and exploration like the original Legend of Zelda was, and then like, how do we iterate through 20 years of 30 years of evolution of that gameplay to get to someplace that it feels modern? And that's what they did. And that's it. Like, that is an incredible, like, imagine if you went back to Metroid, and instead of taking the exploration and unlocking that comes with power-ups, and you said, okay, this game is actually about, developing a taxonomy of species on a planet and, killing bosses, right? You Dungeon Souls Metroid, or a Dark Souls Metroid instead of making an exploration game. And that's kind of what they did with this. It's really, I think it's an amazing thing.
It's a big bet.
Yeah.
You know where you can play some of the original Zelda games?
Archive.org?
On your Apple Watch.
Whoa.
What? You can
Yes.
smarch up Zelda?
Yes. How
does that
There's
work?
a crazy man who has ported a Game Boy emulator to the Apple Watch.
Do I have to jailbreak my smarch?
I'm pretty sure you have to do something like download some Xcode or something. It's not going to be in the App Store. But is this amazing or totally useless
What's your
or both?
control situation like? Do you have a Bluetooth controller?
I have no idea.
Like, or are you just wheeling until you get to the right?
I think you're watching like the attract mode.
Okay.
That's it. The
That's
little
pretty
demo.
cool.
I think it calls attention to the fact that the watch really, there's no, like, software in the watch is not great. And there's no killer use case or experience for these smartwatches that justifies a $400
I
accessory.
like dark skies. It tells me when it's going to rain like 15 minutes in advance. I don't think that's worth $400.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um,
Notifications. I will say that in traveling to for CERN in Switzerland last week, I didn't take a smartwatch because I didn't want to have to charge it.
Interesting.
So I took a regular watch, and I did miss having notifications.
That's what it's for.
so
I get text notifications.
the thing for me is it's most useful when I'm someplace that I'm not familiar with. Like when I'm at a conference and I have a lot of appointments and I have to go from one to the next, having it pop up and say, okay, you have 15 minutes to get to this place where I don't have to have my phone out all the time is really nice. But like, I do that 3 times a year.
Did you guys ever own a game watch like back in the 80s? 90s?
Like the one that had Donkey Kong on it or something?
Yeah,
I had
Pac-Man,
one of
what
those,
have
yeah.
you? It had little joysticks. I think there's a market for game watches that people forgot about.
for kids or for adults?
Yeah, probably for kids. Although for us, a dude would buy a Galaga game watch for $30.
I wouldn't, because the controls are going to be garbage.
You'd get it. Come on.
I would buy
wear it.
I would buy a Galaga app that eye tracks. So that's how you control it. Blink to shoot, and you look left and right to steer. I would not do that, just for the record.
Would
That's
you do?
a bad idea.
I mean, did you guys ever use the calculator on your calculator watch?
Yes.
I never had a
all the
calculator
time.
watch.
You actually use the calculator
All the time.
Did you have tiny fingers?
Fingernails.
Oh,
Data bank. Casio data bank.
What would you calculate?
Tips. General figures.
divide by 5.
I don't know. I did it all the time. I kept all my contacts in there too.
What?
Yeah, had every contact in there before cell phones.
I think the thing that's missing from the Apple Watch, like, I think the killer app for the Apple, any type of wearable accessory is your AI assistant, right?
Mm-hmm. Theoretically.
Theoretically, but one of the barriers for that one is the back end. So you need Siri to not suck.
Mm-hmm.
You need maybe more focused things. For the reasons we think the Alexa service has been good, because they did very little things initially very well. It didn't try to do everything at once. Maybe now with all these like separate mini apps, it's trying to do too much. But also the communication. So the voice detection on the Apple Watch and the responsiveness is good, but not great.
It's not actually good, especially on the second gen is okay. The first gen is bad.
Oh, they improved second gen?
I think the second gen. You have a second gen, right,
Yeah.
Norm? I think the second gen works better than the first gen, because I hold it up to my wrist and Hey Siri, and it frequently doesn't do what I want.
So I think the watch itself maybe needs an accessory. It needs the AirPod.
That's terrible.
It needs the thing in your ear. It needs the her scenario.
No.
It needs just the audio.
Have you used
in your
AirPods
ear.
yet?
Not use AirPods.
People
yet.
like them.
They're. I almost bought a pair after we talked to Adam about his the other day.
Adam likes them?
You can buy them.
Yeah, March 3rd. May 3rd is when they arrive.
May 3rd. How can that's ridiculous for a company that's known and run by a person that's known for logistics and and efficiencies in production. They couldn't. It's been
He's got a lot on his
4
plate.
months.
Yeah.
Like, what is? It's not. You think it's artificial?
No.
No one here.
Apple is not in the business of selling artificial scarcity.
right. Like they are in the mass market.
They want to sell as many of those motherfuckers as they can.
and yet 4 months into when they were supposed to come out,
Look, they have to get the campus open. It's taking a lot of time. Getting all that steel in, getting all the reveals on the doors exactly right. It's expensive.
Hey, by the way, there's a new iPad this week. Anyone notice that?
I found. Oh, is there a new iPad?
Yep.
What?
Yep.
Is there an event this week?
No,
Nope.
stealth release
Yep,
yesterday.
Just here's the store went down, came back up, new iPad.
What's the new iPad?
It's a baby iPad. It's like $330 for what is it? 32 gigs.
But wait, is it form factor any different?
It's actually heavier.
it's
heavier.
the iPad.
It's
the
the new
iPad Air, right?
Yeah, it replaces the iPad Air 2, and it's actually heavier then, and it's it's new iPad.
Brighter screen.
They also
A9 instead of A8.
for $400 you get a 128 iPad.
Oh, so that's real cheap.
iPad Mini now.
For $400?
Yeah, so that's a good
Wow.
deal.
Huh. Is it A9 as well?
Well,
they
the
both
new
A9?
iPad is. The new one is A9.
What's the mini?
I don't know. Probably.
So this new 9.7-inch iPad, which replaces the Air, it starts at $330, which was the price of the Mini
Yeah.
a while ago. How does this fit into the anticipated iPad Pro revamp?
The no pencil support at
Yeah.
all. Nothing like that. No dock for the keyboard.
So if they're going to do an event for it, which everyone's waiting for, it's going to be like this will be the entry level, and any of the Pro will be their margin maker.
If they were going to do a March event, the invites would have gone out by now.
Well, March is almost over.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so
I-
that's weird. I mean, and then they also dropped a red iPhone.
But that's just a normal
Product,
like
right?
they've often done a halfway through the cycle color tweak. And it's product red, right? It's a charity thing, theoretically.
Oh, so weird.
I'm in the market for an iPad. I have an iPad Air 2.
Really?
Well, I kind of want to get a Pro.
Well, you should wait till they
I'd wait.
make
Right,
the
I mean,
Pro
that's the thing.
standard line, but that's going to be pricey.
I'm like, that's fine. I need the pencil. I need to be able to write because it turns out sketching is important.
Do you want the pencil support on a smaller iPad?
No, I don't want pencil support on a smaller iPad.
So you want the Pro? You want the big
I
one?
want either a 12-inch Pro or a 10-inch Pro. I'm really interested in the Edge to Edge 9. That's like, so the Gruber had an interesting post. You guys haven't talked about this, but there's rumors about essentially the iPhone Plus and the normal iPhone sizes getting kind of merged into one bezel-less tweener that's in between the size of the iPhone 7 and iPhone 7 Plus.
That has a screen size larger than the iPhone 7 Plus because it's bezel-less.
Well, and equivalent, a smaller size phone with the same size screen as the 7 Plus because there's no
that's
bezel.
great. I would like that.
Right. And like that didn't make any sense at all until you remember that the SE still exists and there's essentially a 5S size phone with modern hardware inside that makes that original 7 SKU or the original 6 SKU make less sense because that isn't a great phone.
People don't want bigger phones. People want bigger screens.
Right.
And people will be happy to have the smaller phone with the bigger screen and then pay the premium for that. And Apple's always in the business of making things smaller but charging more for them.
Yeah.
As we've seen with the new MacBook and the MacBook Pro.
I think if they combine those two phones, if they combine the 7 and the stock one and the Plus, I think we'll see it come in at the stock price, don't you?
No, I think it'll be premium.
You think it'll be the rumor is it's $1,000 phone.
Oh, jeez. That's ridiculous.
Which is bananas.
Well, technically,
$50
that's like
a month.
$300 more than what they're already charging for it.
Yeah.
So it's the lease plan gets up by $20 a month.
Yeah.
Which
In the
people
end-
don't think adds up, but does.
Yeah.
Sorry. In the interest of time, may I suggest we bang through some of this?
Yes. Actually, in the interest of time, we're going to jump to our next segment. But first, I'm going to thank the sponsor of this week's episode, the people who make this episode possible, and that's Crizal No Glare Lenses. We all expect our glasses to help us see better, but that's not always the case. Oftentimes, smudges, scratches, and even reflections on your lenses can obstruct your vision and be a huge distraction. Thankfully, Crizal No Glare lenses offer resistance to all those things, giving you the clearest vision possible. Crizal lenses protect you from blinding glares from headlights of oncoming traffic, as well as harmful UV light and harmful blue-violet light from digital screens. And because they stay clear and reduce distracting glare, your friends and family can actually see your eyes, not just your glasses. Go to Crizal.com, that's CRIZAL.com, and start living life in the clear, and thank them for making this episode possible. And now on to
The VR Minute.
virtual reality this week. Gosh, we didn't talk about VR at all last week when we were in France. And what's happened? What's happened since, Jeremy?
My goodness.
Fusho's out.
That's a big deal.
Foo Show.
The Fusho. First
Outstanding.
episode.
Outstanding.
You can watch it right now on Steam. Coming soon to Oculus Home.
How soon?
Soon.
Very good.
We're seriously though, the Quad Cow episode 1 of the new season's out. You can get it on Steam for $5. If you're a Kickstarter backer, you should have a code in your email. There's a 2D client that will be coming out really soon. Like I spent last night testing the latest version, and it's getting close.
So what can I look forward to as a user if I use this one?
You can see me talk to Brendan Chung about his awesome game, Quadrilateral Cowboy, and then you can go inside Quadrilateral Cowboy with us while we talk about it and look at cool props and things.
Oh, cool. How does the interaction differ from the first Kickstarter version?
Well, this works with Oculus Touch as well as the HTC Vive, and we completely redid the UI. So we have we built diegetic UI for it. Diegetic.
Did you make that word up?
Diegetic is a word from the film world that I learned from the Idle Thumbs and Campo Santo guys. It means that it's usually used in terms of sound. So sound like music that comes from the environment.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about Reservoir Dogs in the scene where Mr. Blonde cuts off the cop's ear, they're playing K. Billy's Super Sounds of the 70s stuck in the middle with you. In the background, it's coming from a transistor radio that's actually on set in the room, presumably. So we like to think of UI user interfaces as diegetic if they live in the world. So for us, we pop up a menu that has a physical item that you can pick up and grab to move, to scroll and scrub through the timeline. And the people on stage, fast forward and rewind as you do that. You saw a prototype of this months ago.
Yes.
We've refined it since you saw that.
Very cool. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And you got another episode you're working on.
Yeah, we're shooting the next one in the next week, I think.
Well, things are moving along.
Wow.
Yeah, progress.
Very cool.
Did we talk about Robo Recall yet?
The game's good.
Did we?
We did.
We talked about
when
it
you weren't here.
on projections.
I know we talked on projections. I don't know if we talked about it. You did talk about
talked it when you weren't here,
Okay.
I think.
All
Because we
right.
talked about it in the GDC week.
All right.
Yeah. The other thing, this video out of Disney Research is making the rounds, and it's an interesting video. It's about catching a ball in virtual reality.
Yeah, it's neat.
And I think it was trending for the wrong reasons, though. I think people were amused at the fact, and it was a very shareable video because they showed someone wearing goggles catching a real ball.
You and I have done that.
And we've done that. We've done that with a torch, a tracked torch.
A stick.
The stick that we
yeah.
toss to each other while wearing an Oculus DK2. But
It was a really weird experience, just for the record.
and yes, and
Yeah.
I think that novel experience of someone not actually physically seeing the actual thing that's being thrown at you and still catching it
I mean, that
is
was the
novel.
that was the
and
magic
it's shareable.
of the Vive controllers from day one.
Exactly. Like if I was wearing the headset and you tossed me Vive controllers, I'd be able to catch that no problem.
Right.
So the fact that this is getting shared isn't interesting to me. But what's actually, if you watch the video, what they're demonstrating is interesting. What the Disney research was showing, and one was that if you have an object that is tracked and you throw it to someone, there are many different ways to represent that object being thrown to you and you, the receiver, catching it in the software. One, the software knows the anticipated trajectory of the object, and it can calculate fast enough just on the first few milliseconds of you releasing that ball, the person throwing the ball at you, releasing the ball, what that trajectory is going to be. And so you can show the ball coming at you, and you can track it, millisecond by millisecond and show that, and the person wearing the VR headset will catch it a certain way. Or you can just show the anticipated trajectory, or you can just show the landing spot, or you can show both. And so they went through permutations of these, and people had different reactions.
I think
to different
this is like $1 million man augmented human kind of experience. My favorite is when they just have they indicate to the person wearing VR goggles the catch point, like
Right.
Put your hand.
the intended, the eventual spot that it will be, and then they move like a robot. They just move their hand to that position. Whereas if they see the ball coming in VR, they move along with it, like they anticipate
Really?
it themselves.
because
They're
you
moving.
Oh,
catch
man.
the ball just like you would the virtual ball, just like you would a real ball. And for video games, like we have when it's all software, when it's all digital, if you're just playing on a computer screen and the AI shoots a lobster grenade at you, how it's being shown to you, like the game knows where it's going to land, right?
Right.
But it shows it to you the way you would think, and so your eyes track the grenade
Well, but
as coming toward you. But the implications of this, when you're talking about mixed reality, where there is an actual ball coming at you, and the thing that's amazing here is that the algorithms can predict.
It's
can
knowing the
predict it.
future.
It's knowing the
It's
future.
the computer telling you the future.
Yes, and that application in mixed reality is something that not many people have experimented.
So you extrapolate this. You think about how could the military, use this technology to know where grenades or anything's going to fall. where
You
it's
need
gonna
perfectly
land.
tracked space, though.
But
That'll come.
it's all physics, and like you get bullets tracked and like the amount of fire in various directions. Oh, it's
If
amazing.
you have depth cameras on, they already do that with bullet tracks, but they do the other way. So they can, they put microphones on the backs of people's backpacks or around bases, and the microphones can triangulate where snipers shoot from.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
So my question is, how much of this
Then they mortar
was
them.
made possible because the throwing of a ball is a relatively known quantity? Like there weren't other variables in the room. There wasn't gust, wind.
Well-
like they were tracking a known object, how much it weighed, and how much of that.
There's no spin and no
Right, and no spin. They
no-
didn't have a tail on it or anything, wings on it or anything. And how much more complicated would it be to create the trajectory and update it in real time if you had other variables?
It's going to get really hard.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not that they couldn't do it, but you wouldn't be able to tell the future as far as in advance.
And if you wouldn't be able to tell the future that far in advance, and you were only to show that landing spot would change over time.
That's right.
And that would be interesting. And how would then how would the in the MR mixed reality scenario, how would you catch that ball?
Well, so the reason this works though is because our brains are really good at Earth physics, right? We're really good at what happens to physical objects on 9.8 meters per second of acceleration, of gravity, right? So the reason we're bad at catching things in video games a lot of times is video game physics are bad. Like they don't follow the normal rules of the world that our brains are accustomed to. Or the interface is bad. So like you can't use a gamepad to move your hand to the right spot to catch it in the right time. So you just press B when it gets in the right kind of timing window. The fact that they're using physical items to generate accurate physics in the real world, because it's easier to measure that than it is to do the calculations live, is also super interesting.
Well, they calculate based on their own algorithm. Like they look at a few milliseconds of movement in the real world.
Yeah. And then they do permutate out from there because it's just math.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's all physics math.
Yeah. But I guess what I'm saying is like doing colliders for a ball and getting the physics right on a video game ball is tough. This is like that game that I played at GDC where you roll the ball up in the thing and they track the ball's movement and then it seamlessly transitions from a table that you roll it on up onto a screen.
Oh, that sounds cool.
It was awesome. It was really like massive pinball applications.
Is this that area where it's all
alt
control?
alt GDC or alt control GDC.
Yeah, that's cool. Speaking of Disney, there's a Disney app on the Oculus Store now. Have you guys tried that?
No,
There's been one for a while. The
Wow,
movie thing,
couple weeks.
the 360 video watcher.
There are 360 videos in it, but there's also real-time stuff in it, like
Really?
the Star Wars interview, Rogue One interview. Yeah, it's interesting.
Disney. There was a Disney movies app like before Force Awakens came out that had 360 video in it. No,
Really?
no, last spring.
Did it have Marvel, Star Wars, and Disney?
Yes,
That's been out since Rogue One
it's been out since before Rogue One. It came out last summer
on Oculus Store.
on Oculus Store.
Have I really
And
not
on
been paying
Vive.
attention? Because now it's all featured. And
They
stuff.
did not promote it because
Oh.
it got bad reviews.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, it's interesting that they did some interesting things with 360 video where they shoot like a Rogue One scene where you can see the crew and you see the scene. But then they augment this, and it's 3D video, but it's, crappy. But they augment this CG stuff into the video that does look like quality. Even though it's part of the video, because it's CG, it actually worked better. And they're experimenting, and I think I liked seeing these new levels that they're trying to do to it. It's whatever. It's not the best thing ever.
I'm a little disappointed on the Oculus side. All these experiences, these different viewer experiences, which felt like the killer app for like the Gear VR experience, Oculus Video, Oculus Theater, the
Right.
cinema, they haven't really made any improvements. Those felt like so much potential to have shared cinematic experiences that and other people have taken over, big screen, and it all feels siloed though. I wish there was a really great killer communal metaverse for watching content.
I want Plex for VR, which I think they're working on actually. I'm not sure. Did you see that HTC launched their video player last night? Their
No.
like cinema. So it supports 3D, 2D. So there's a couple of things on the 3D video front in headsets. PlayStation with the 4.5 firmware rolled out 3D Blu-ray support for the in-headset movie watcher, which I tried with the Doctor Strange Blu-ray and was pleasantly surprised at the.
So you're talking about
PSVR?
putting on PSVR.
Putting on PSVR.
You can put in a 3D Blu-ray into the disc into your PS4 and watch 3D in that 1080 screen.
Yes. And the experience was pretty good. Like it wasn't what I was expecting, but because of the way because you're actually looking at two discrete viewers on each eye instead of doing a flashing back and forth or polarized, you actually get both full resolution on both sides. It's not full resolution because of the way the headset works, but you get a better experience, and you can do things like tilt your head from side to side and it doesn't get out of whack because of the polarization.
That was like the HMZ T1. That was the good thing about that. That was the only good thing.
Yes.
How big of a virtual screen do you have?
You can kind of control it on the PSVR. I found it to be very comfortable. I basically was sitting in my office chair and kind of tilted it back so I could recline and tilt it back to watch.
Because you're limited by the field of view on the headset itself. So do you want, as a viewing experience, the screen to be bigger than the relatively limited field of view of the headset? I'm saying relatively compared to your real eyes. When you're sitting in an IMAX theater, the field of view is your eyes are massive, but it still fills up your field of view.
So it was like basically I had the entire screen in my field of view. It was like you're sitting. It's like if you're sitting at the IMAX screen, it's like sitting 5 rows from the top, probably in San Francisco, which is an incredibly specific thing that only you're going to understand.
Yeah. Okay.
So HTC released their video player. It's on the HTC Vive port and Steam, and it supports pretty much every video format that I've seen that I threw at it so far.
Very cool.
There was an interesting story out of the Korea Herald that was upvoted highly on our Oculus. A headset should be out by Samsung within a couple years with 1,500 PPI.
What?
So 5
What,
times
an-
the
what-
density?
So you're talking about like 3 times the density of current headsets. So almost 4K by 4K for each eye.
So that means they have to have eye tracking and a bunch of other stuff.
Fovulated
Foveated rendering. Yeah. Fovulated?
I'll say fovulated.
Fovulated works.
Happily.
You think foveated rendering, but what about the optics?
Yeah, I mean,
How
it's
big is the screen? It can be a very high density screen, but it can be small, and you can have low FOV.
Yep.
You want all these things to scale, which things get tougher, and not just the rendering.
Well, or you do multi-stage optics on the lenses, so you do depth of field on the. There's other people are working. There's all sorts of interesting stuff people are working on with that stuff.
The other rumor on the VR side is that Apple is heavily invested in building an AR team.
Well, I mean, they've been hiring people.
Yeah.
Supposedly they got a huge team.
Yeah.
I don't know. Good luck,
They got to
Apple.
fill that new office.
Who's poor? Oh God. Apple.
Poor Apple.
Apple.
Oh, those guys.
No streaming service, no VR, AR.
Why would you start a streaming service if you can sell things a la carte?
My hope is Apple's just got something big coming. You know, that they're confident in the future, despite the fact that they have let Siri and everything else just kind of sit and.
Hey, if they are happy just selling iPhones and iPads and resting their laurels, it's too bad. Let another company overtake them.
Supposedly the next iPhone's going to be a big deal.
That's what they said about the last iPhone.
No, they didn't. No, they
Nobody
didn't.
said that. Okay.
I think that's actually all the time we
Wait,
have.
Rock Band.
Oh, okay.
Oh, did
Rock
you
Band.
guys play it?
No, it
No,
comes
no.
out tomorrow. So by the time you listen to this podcast, you'll be able to download that on the Oculus Store.
Can I play all my Xbox tracks on there?
No, but there's a ton of tracks. It's like 40-some tracks.
Oh, that's pretty good. Is
And
it stuff I know, or
good.
is it all
Mix.
new
It's
crap?
always a mix.
What's your controller solution?
So I got a PS4. Actually, my son saved up all his money, bought Rock Band for PS4. So it's great. So now we have a guitar.
okay.
Okay.
So it's a Rock Band 4 guitar, and it syncs wirelessly over Bluetooth to my PC.
Okay.
I set it up yesterday. I didn't know you could do that.
Do you have to, if
You
you have an
use the
Xbox
one
controller, you have to
accessory.
use the dongle?
Xbox, I think, uses a wire.
A dongle.
Does it use a dongle?
They're-
Okay.
they're
Yes.
wireless
So if
on
you have the
Xbox.
wire, you need the dongle.
Well, you
for-
have the
for that.
dongle because you got it with your Rift.
Does it work with the new one? Okay, maybe so.
Should.
Great. So yeah, it's gonna sync up that way. I already attached the
touch.
touch attachment to the back of the guitar, so I'm looking forward to actually trying that.
That's
By the way, when they first revealed that game, it looked like more of just like a rhythm.
Yeah.
They got rid of the note stream.
Yeah.
But they've put it back in. Did you guys know that?
I'm really skeptical about that game, just in general.
Yeah.
Because like the fun part about Rock Band to me was always having a bunch of people come over to the house and
No
play
doubt.
Rock Band and
No
drink
doubt.
beer and eat pizza.
So this is now Guitar Hero, essentially.
Yeah, and like playing by myself in my office with my Rift doesn't seem that compelling.
I was playing Robo Recall last night, and I was pretending like I was playing the cool music, the 80s rock music in the menus. And I was thinking this would be fun. I'm looking forward to Rock Band.
You're ready to go.
I'm ready.
Air guitarin.
Yeah.
All
How
right.
much is it? Is it expensive? It's
Yeah,
full price?
Don't know.
Okay.
We will be talking about that after Jeremy plays a little bit of Rock Band. We're also testing a bunch of stuff in VR. We got an MSI backpack, VR backpack.
Ooh.
So I'm going to be reviewing that as well in the future.
If you need real world tests for that, holler.
Yeah. And we'll have more stuff on our weekly VR show and AR show projections. So see more of that there. And we have some barcode stuff, so you'll see in the next couple few weeks. But I think that's all the time we have for this week's episode. What we've been testing, well, it's been Zelda, and the Nintendo Switch. We like it, and there's other stuff we'll be talking about in the future. But we're out of time. Do we have an outro?
Yeah, I don't know if we've used this one or not. Let's see. It's another one from Justin, a.k.a. Speed.
Hi there, I didn't see you.
Did you read about Elon Musk and his shovel?
No.
Shovel.
He's got a shovel, and he's digging.
Buy the Foo Show, it's out now.